Hey guys, I'm Caleb.
And I'm Trey.
And today, we are back with you. It has been a long time. We apologize for that. We've had some weird circumstances come up, as you may know.
COVID-19.
That's right. But we're going to try to get back to it. So, it's going to be every Tuesday, every 2 weeks. Does that sound like a fair idea?
That sounds like a good one. Maybe every 2 weeks we'll have a video out.
Yep.
On Tuesdays. That sounds
reasonable. We just want to make good content for you guys and not make it dry.
So that's why today we're going to be doing a video, top 10 most common mistakes we see with beginners riding and how to fix those so you can become a better rider, have more fun riding, and just all around love riding.
That's right. So we're going to jump right into the video right now, and we hope you guys enjoy.
Hey guys, so the first tip we're going to talk about, it's a pretty common one. I see a lot of people going out and they're going to be riding the wrong bike for the trail that they're riding. So we're going to start off with two pretty common bikes for trail riding. So first we're going to start out with the hardtail. This is the hardtail. This bike is made for mostly trail riding, gravel riding, any type of cross-country riding. The reason this is a really good bike for those types of things is because the rear part of the bike does not have a rear suspension. It's a complete metal frame, which will help with more stability and way more reaction while you're riding. And another thing with this is these bikes are usually cheaper than dual suspension bikes, so these are a great starter bike for most beginner riders. Now we're going to talk about the gear system, which is a big part of riding. Most bikes have a 3x system, which is 3 gears in the front and usually 7 to 9 in the back, which is good for road biking, but for mountain biking it just adds a lot more gears that you don't need and can cause a lot of problems down the road for beginners. So a good way to go is buying a 1x, which is 1 gear in the front, and you could have from 10 to 12 gears in the back, which have just as much range as a 3x. They can be a little more expensive than 3x's, but they're well worth it. This bike we have a 2.8 Recon tire. These are tubeless right now, and we have those in the front and the rear. You don't really need a wide tire. I'd prefer getting a tire that is very knobby and can adhere to the trail and give you as much traction as possible, because this is the main contact to the trail. So you want to get as good of a tire as you can so that you'll have the most traction, the most speed, however you want on the trail. The other thing about hardtails is the suspension in the front. You want a good suspension, preferably a air shock, which is better than a spring or coil shock in the front, because it gives you more rebound, more reliability, and it's just overall just a better fork. So the second bike I'm going to talk to you about is the dual suspension bike. This bike is good for trails that have jumps, very rocky, bumpy, technical parts. They're better for downhill sections, unlike the hardtail, which is better for uphill and downhill, just all around cross-country sections. And this bike is a little more pricey than the hardtail, so this is more of a intermediate level bike or difficult level bike for most people. But it does have its advantages. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the rear suspension of the dual suspension bike. This makes the bike way smoother on the trail in the rear, which also helps with picking lines. You'll have a smooth ride. It's way smoother than a hardtail, which you would probably be more used to picking the easiest line, but with this one you could pick harder lines and still have one of the smoothest rides. Next we're going to talk about handlebars and stems of handlebars. if you're right, it depends on what you're riding that determines which type of handlebar you want. If you're doing more cross-country road biking, gravel riding, you want a shorter handlebar width and you want a longer stem so you have more aerodynamics while you're riding. But if you're riding downhill and more technical, steeper descents, more technical climbs, you want a shorter stem and wider handlebars to help with confidence, stability, easier on turning. They're overall a better handlebar while you're riding downhill. If you're looking for a bike, go to your local bike shop. They'll help you out with prices, what bike you need. They're always friendly. They always have the best advice for you. Just whatever you do not buy a Walmart bike. Yeah.
And guys, the next one we have is you don't have to wear top of the line attire. A perfect helmet, if it protects your head, you're golden. That's the most important thing. Also, you don't need to go buy $100 worth of clothes to look good. You don't have to look good to ride good, alright? And I mean, the last thing you really need to know is have good tennis shoes. Like, I like to wear flat tennis shoes that don't have ridges or anything on the bottom because they can really fit into the pedals well. But don't ride with open-toed shoes. You don't want to be missing toes at the end of the day.
Another mistake we see is a lot of people are doing stuff that they aren't particularly ready for, like big jumps, and they're completely crashing. And this tip is just only ride what you're confident on. Don't try to overprove yourself or do something that you aren't particularly sure that you're able to do. So just stay with your limits and have fun.
And this next tip we have for you guys is ride with a friend who knows what they're doing. That's actually how I learned, from Trey himself. I learned on a rinky-dinky bike, and I worked myself up. But he knew the right lines to go, and I just followed where his tire went. He stayed in front of me, and I tried to work myself up to try to get closer and closer to him by building speed. So that's something that, if you have a friend who kind of knows what they're doing and has ridden some trails before, ask him. Say, hey man, you want to go out and ride some trails today? He's like, I'm really trying to work on your craft and trying to be better.
In this mistake, we're going to talk about selecting your lines and scouting difficult portions of the trail. So one thing that I see is people riding trails blindly, really difficult trails with jumps, technical sections, drop-offs, and they're getting injured because they're not aware of what's up next. So always when you get to a point where, let's say, there's this big jump or a big drop-off that you want to scout first, always scout it so you know exactly what's going to happen when you hit that jump. Another thing is line choice. This is a big one that can determine whether you crash or if you get through a certain section really fast or really smooth or really hard. So in this one, there's going to be separate lines that you can take to determine how smooth, how bumpy, how hard, how easy that section is going to be. So in this scenario, we're going to show you what that looks like and how to determine which line you should take. Okay, so I think you should come right through here and you'll come to this side and you'll go through in this smooth section because you can come across, hit this root and go down, but up here it's like, so you go right of the left of the rock, come straight through here, hit these roots, and then you can just cut from right here straight to right there and use that log to kind of get you back straight. Okay, let's see it. There you go. There you go. You got that.
And guys, here's another tip for you. Make sure you stay hydrated and you got some granola bars or Cliff bars in your backpack when you're riding. You don't want to get 3 miles out on a trail and out in the middle of nowhere and you get a cramp, or you guys are just so exhausted that you start missing up. This can be really dangerous, and actually we've had it happen to friends before. So it's you just want to protect yourself in all ways.
Another mistake we see is we'll see people going downhill on a trail and their seat post is as high as possible. And this is a bad thing because you can bust your butt on that seat every time you hit a rock. It gives you less control on turns. So you always want to have your seat post down when you're going downhill on technical, rocky, even jumps, drop-offs. Anything mostly downhill, you want your seat down for. With uphill, you want to have your seat higher so you get more control on your pedals, so you use less energy as you're pedaling up, so you have more energy on the trail. One of the biggest things I see on a trail is death grip. I'll see riders going down the trail and they're holding their grips as hard as possible. Arms are completely locked out, legs are completely locked out, and you're going down the trail and you're going and you're losing a lot of energy just by that. You're getting sore and you're not being as agile as you need to be to have the best ride, the most smoothest ride, the most reliable ride. So just always, you want to loosen up, especially on a portion of the trail that you haven't ridden before. If you need to scout the trail out so you know exactly what you're doing, so you're not putting a lot of death grip, locking up, and that's when accidents happen. So always just stay relaxed when you're riding. So here I'm going to show you a perfect example of death grip and how not to do it and what you should do in this point without using death grip. So right here we have a drop off, and in this position you could be coming through, you see this and you get really scared. You start locking up, you're standing up straight and all muscles are clenched together and you're a statue. And you come off this and you just go right over the bars and you just fly forward. And then you crash and everything hurts and you're having a horrible day after that. Instead, when you come in here, you should see this and instantly you think, this is a drop off. What should I do to make this feel as smooth as possible, have as much control as possible? So you're gonna come through here, you're gonna loosen up, you're gonna, right when you go over the edge, you're gonna lean your butt back and you're gonna get towards the back of the bike. So when you go down, you're not putting all your weight on your front tire and you're keeping it level. So when you land, you have more control and you don't fly over your bars. So when you land, you're gonna come down and you're just going to hit and you'll be able to keep going. Another big mistake we see is a lot of people will hammer down that rear brake and never use their front brake. The front brake is always your friend, guys. You're going to use both brakes evenly throughout your ride. And one tip to use while you're doing it is don't slam on the brakes, feather the brakes, and gradually get harder so you don't fly over your handlebars and you have more control when you're riding. Because when you slam on your brakes, your wheels lock out. If it's your front wheel, you'll fly over your handlebars. If it's your rear wheel, you'll lock out, start sliding, and just slide down the trail and lose all control whatsoever. So always just feather your brakes, and remember, both brakes are your friends. And always, guys,
Have fun. I mean,
exactly. You don't want to get out there and have the worst time ever. Always just enjoy riding and just enjoy the time that you spend out in nature. It's always a good time.
the moment you get out of your car, you got to have a positive attitude. If you go out there with a negative attitude, you're going to be mad at your bike, you're going to be mad at the weather, you're going to be mad at the wind, you're going to be mad at something. And it's mountain biking. You have to have fun with it. So that's our last tip.
pressure. Ooh, almost did that. Oh my. Oh. Oh. Get right, get right. Oh man. Go left. Whoa! Whoa! Oh! Whoa! That section was fun! Oh,